Ciao a tutti! Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about two verbs that very often create confusion because they're verbs that have a very similar translation when you're translating them to English. I have done a previous video on conoscere and sapere, which also create the same little confusion. And since I noticed that you really appreciated it, I thought it would be a good idea to keep up with a couple of more videos with verbs that can create a misunderstanding when speaking if they're not used in the correct way. What am I talking about today? I'm talking about two verbs, the verb fermare and the verb smettere. If you are taking these verbs and you're looking at them in the dictionary basically, you will notice that the meaning is to stop. So you are translating it to the English meaning to stop. But of course, they have different shades of stopping, let's say. They do have different meanings, okay? So you're going to use one in a certain situation and the other one in another situation. And that's exactly what I will be explaining to you in this video. As always, you can download the PDF of this lesson by clicking on the link below. If you want to just magically receive all this free material, because I have free materials in all of my videos. So if you're interested in receiving the free material, just subscribe to the newsletter. It's free, and every time I have a new video with materials, I'm just going to send them over to you by email, okay? So usually every Friday you would receive one email from me that has the PDF attached to it, so you don't have to click on all of the links that you find throughout my channel, okay? So if you don't like clicking on links, just go to my blog page and all of this is written out there as well. Okay, let's start with the first verb, the verb fermare. Fermare does translate to stop, but it's going to be used when you're physically stopping something or somebody, basically. So you're actually blocking the action of a person or of an object. Fermare is used a lot in its reflexive form. So the infinitive here would be fermarsi, okay? So you will see sentences like fermo la macchina. In this case, it's not a reflexive verb, and you're saying I'm stopping the car. Fermo la macchina. So physically, I'm blocking, stopping the car. Or you can use it in the reflexive form. La macchina si è fermata. The car stopped, blocked itself. Okay? So you're using it to say that somebody or something stopped, blocked the action. Let's look at some examples of this in different sentences so that you can get the feeling of using it correctly. Il treno si è fermato alla stazione. Mi sono fermata dal giornalaio. In these two examples, you are noticing that I'm using the reflexive form. So I have a reflexive pronoun, okay? You can spot this out by looking at the examples again. Il treno si è fermato. So you have si, which is your reflexive pronoun. In the second example, I said, mi sono fermata dal giornalaio. You have your reflexive pronoun mi. Okay? So be careful on the type of form that you're using. If you're using the normal infinitive is fermare. If you're using the reflexive form, it's going to be fermarsi, and you need your reflexive pronouns. I do have a video on reflexive verbs. I will link it below if you need to review and check more information on that. Let's look at some more examples. Luca ha fermato la macchina. In this case, I'm saying that Luca stopped, blocked the car. This verb is in the normal infinitive form. In this case, I'm not using a reflexive form, okay? Let's look at another example. La polizia ha fermato il ladro. Once again, it's not a reflexive verb. I'm using it to say that a person stopped another. In this case, the police stopped the thief. Let's look at the conjugation of these two verbs. Let's focus on the present tense, and then let's look also at the reflexive form. Why do I like to review these? Simply because it's another way of memorizing them, of remembering how to use them. I suggest that you read them, you write them down on a notebook, you keep track of these, and you create your own sentences. Create some with the reflexive form and some without the reflexive form. Okay? Let's look at the verb at the present tense. So we're looking at fermare. Io fermo, tu fermi, lui lei ferma, noi fermiamo, voi fermate, loro fermano. Make a couple of sentences just with this verb tense. I'm keeping it simple. I'm not talking about crazy verb conjugations. I'm looking at the present tense. Il calciatore ferma la palla con il piede. Noi fermiamo la maestra dopo la lezione. Make sentences. Put them in the comments. I will correct them for you. Let's look at the reflexive version of this verb. Io mi fermo, tu ti fermi, lui lei si ferma, noi ci fermiamo, voi vi fermate, loro si fermano. Write a couple of examples. La maestra si ferma a parlare con i bambini. Okay, so remember, fermare, you're physically stopping, blocking a person or an object, or an object is blocking a person or another object. Okay, so think of it as physically blocking something. Let's look at the other verb, the verb smettere. In this case, you're going to use it when you want to say that you're going to stop doing something. This verb is going to be used with the preposition di, and then after that, you're going to have an infinitive verb. Let's look at these examples. Smettere di bere. Smettere di parlare. Smettere di russare. So you're going to be using this little formula. Smettere plus di plus an infinitive verb. This verb very often is used also when you want to say that you stopped with a bad habit or you gave up a bad habit. For example, ho smesso di fumare. I stopped smoking, or in the more colloquial English version, I gave up smoking. Okay? But obviously, it's not only the idea of giving up something for good, also, but the fact also that you stopped doing an activity. For example, ho smesso di andare in palestra, or ho smesso di guardare il film. Okay? So it's not only giving up, but it's also stopping doing an activity. Be very careful with this verb because, as you have noticed in the examples, I'm sure you have already picked up what I want to say. This verb has an irregular past participle. So you will say ho smesso. So remember that the past participle in this case is irregular and it's smesso. In this case, I want to focus with the conjugation at the present tense and also at the past, so that you focus and you remember and you memorize also the irregularity of the past participle. Okay? Io smetto, tu smetti, lui lei smette, noi smettiamo, voi voi smettete, loro smettono. Write a sentence, ok? Smetto di parlare e leggo un libro. Smetto di lavorare e mi rilasso. Ok, now let's look at the passato prossimo. Io ho smesso, tu hai smesso, lui, lei ha smesso, noi abbiamo smesso, voi avete smesso, loro hanno smesso. Finalmente il bambino ha smesso di piangere. Make a sentence. Make a sentence that is part of your daily language, okay? Create one and use it. This is the best way to remember this irregularity and to use the verb correctly. So basically, if you want to just grasp the meaning of these two verbs, you could say that smettere is linked to quitting something, ceasing to do something, okay? And fermare is when you're blocking or stopping somebody or an action that's being carried out, okay? Last little thing that I really want to tell you, because it's something very common, very colloquial, is that you can actually add little pronouns at the end of these verbs, and you can use them to say that you are strongly telling somebody to stop doing something, okay? You can just simply say smettila with the meaning of basta, okay? Or you can say fermati. That's it. It's a very imperative blocking way of yelling more than telling somebody to stop doing something, okay? Okay, I hope this video was helpful. I know it was a short little video, but I really wanted to explain these two verbs. If you need any information, just write a comment or get in touch with me at Giulia@italianlanguagehub.com. Un bacione, a presto. Ciao.